Would I like to see us continue to work on the cars? Absolutely. You know, and I've said this in NASCAR, and I've said it to me before, and I'll say it again. If the next-gen car looks the same next year as it does this year, then we failed. You know, it should continue to grow. We should continue to learn. We should continue to make it better. And you know, there's probably some car owners that don't want to hear that because it costs money to change the cars. But, you know, like anything, when you create something new, like the next-gen car, there's going to be things that are optimized, and there's going to be things that aren't. And I think there's opportunities to continue to make this car better and the racing better with it. I think it's still a step forward from where we were in a lot of ways. I think we've seen some great racing because of that. Great parity, I think, is what Jacob was trying to allude to, and I think he's right. So there's a lot of big positives. Like any industry, we probably get caught up in the negatives more than the positives. But that's not to say, and that's the issue at hand, is you know, I feel like there's two camps. There's the everything's wrong with this car camp, and there's nothing's wrong with this car camp. And I'm trying to set my meaning like, no, it's a pretty big step forward for our sport. It's actually pretty good, but I'd like to keep working on it. And it seems like, much like many things today, the polarization means there's no room for middle ground. But you know, in my eyes, I'd like to see you know, some small tweaks, but I'm thankful and proud of our sport and where the next-gen car has taken us so far.
I realize you're biased, but there were a ton of durability concerns tonight, a lot of attrition. I'm sure that's going to be the narrative going forward, like you said. Do you think that the car deserves a passing grade for how it performed tonight?
I'm not aware of all the durability issues, so it would probably be unfair for me to comment, but I just know we didn't have any other than the tire. I heard maybe some power steering issues. We didn't have those, so I couldn't comment on that. I heard there was maybe a fuel pump issue, but from what I understand, that's not related to the next-gen car. It's similar parts, if not identical, to the older car. But that's all I'm aware of at the moment.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Brad, earlier this summer, you were pushing for more practice as essentially be more cost-effective than relying on the sim stuff. And I'm curious, how, as a driver owner, do you marry the issue of you're taking hits, you're feeling those hits more, with the cost that, you know, at some point, obviously safety is important, but there does get to be a point, is there, you know, can it cost too much? How are you dealing with this? Because obviously this is the big issue in the sport, is how much more can be done, and, you know, the drivers want it to be everything done, and owners have got to look at a bottom line. So
yeah,
how do you look at it from, since you have both perspectives and nobody else does?
Yeah, you know, it's a really polarizing topic. You know, you have the owners that don't want to touch anything on the car, and you have the drivers that are kind of screaming that we've got to make safety advancements on the car. And sitting in both rooms can get awkward at times, no doubt. But you know, I don't think this car is, you know, end of the world, unsafe, or anything like that. I don't feel that way. But I don't think it's optimized either. So, you know, I'd like to see some small iteration changes to continue to improve it, and I think those are out there. But you know, again, it's a really polarizing topic between the, you know, everything's perfect camp and everything's wrong camp, and I think there's probably a spot in between.
Are you a unifier, or are you standing in the back of the room being quiet?
Well, right now, all I care about is getting this team to work and win races, so or company as a whole. And so, you know, I feel like that's 99% of my energy is what is it going to take to get these cars to where they can compete at a high level, to show the pace that's required to be competitive. And in that light, that's where my bandwidth is.